Welcome to Inside the Pack, episode number 14. With me is Dan Webster. I'm Michael Wazinski. Dan, let's jump right into episode 14 for the Ice Wolves as we are, again, getting done our season series with the Lone Star Brahmas. Unfortunately, the Ice Wolves finish the season against them 0-8. They'll have to wait until next year to get their first win against the best team in the league right now.
Dan Wildfong, the head coach at the Brahmas, has done an extraordinary job. But he has several players who are going to be aging out, and they have a lot of experience. A very experienced team. We saw that every time we played them. And as I've said, here on the podcast before, Dan says we've been where you guys are. So it's all in building a program. He's built a great program there. I think that he deserves the credit. And the Brahmas showed that they were an extraordinarily strong team against the Ice Wolves this past weekend.
This coming weekend, though, Dan, the Ice Wolves will be on home ice against the Corpus Christi Ice Rays. It will be the first time this season that the Ice Rays are visiting the Outpost Ice Arenas. They have not lost to the Ice Rays this season in regulation. Dan, what are your thoughts on the upcoming games for New Mexico against fifth-place Corpus, who are 8 points ahead of the Ice Wolves in the South Division?
Well, we've got, once again, we're looking at roster changes. And so we had a couple of tenders play, or at least were dressed in Texas this past weekend. Tyler Green and Micah Maldonado both were there. And so I noticed that between it appeared that there were a lot of mixing up of lines between Friday and Saturday night, and so I'm figuring Phil Fox is looking at where's the best chemistry and what can he find in terms of all these new players. So I don't know, it's up for grabs, but we've got the home ice advantage, and we seem to do pretty well on home ice here against Corpus Christi. So I'm hoping that's the case.
Yeah, we play Corpus this weekend, then we'll play Shreveport, who the Ice Wolves are 0-6 against this season. They obviously don't want another team to get a season series sweep on them, so that 13th and the 14th of March will be very important. And speaking with a lot of the players as well, and even Dan, you've heard it too, Shreveport's most likely the biggest Ice Wolves rival in their inaugural season here in the NAHL. So that weekend, 2 weeks from now, it's going to be obviously very important, very something you want to keep your eye on, because that will be the final two games between Shreveport and New Mexico until next year. Then they'll go up against the Corpus Christi Ice Rays on the 20th and the 21st. Those two games will be the final two home games of the Ice Wolves' inaugural season here in the League of Opportunity. Then they'll finish out on the road in Odessa and then Topeka.
Well, Shreveport has over 1,500 minutes in penalties. They are one of the top teams in the league for penalties. And so I'm hoping that whatever Phil Fox can do to help our boys control their emotions, when you're playing a team that is not afraid to make infractions and not afraid to go into the penalty box, it's a real tough thing to go up against a team that's so physical and so willing to take the game to you in a physical way.
They lead the league in penalty minutes with nearly 1,200, Dan, and as they're right now sitting with 1,194. Second is Maine Nordiques, as they're in their inaugural season with 1,159 penalty minutes. Shreveport's the only team in the South Division with over 1,000 penalties. The Ice Wolves have 956 penalty minutes in their inaugural season. So obviously they almost possibly had a little bit more going into this coming weekend with the Sean Henry incident that happened on Friday during the second period towards the tail end of that middle period. He hit Noah Roof, the captain of the Lone Star Brahmas from behind, but it was an open ice hit, so it wasn't, in the numbers, head towards the boards type of scenario. Henry never left his feet, never charged, never extended in terms of cross-checking into Roof's back, and Roof actually never even saw him as well as he was coming away from moving the puck. So it was an unfortunate hit in terms of for Noah Roof, and who was very slow to get up and had to be helped off with some of his teammates, and hopefully he is okay and feeling much better. I heard some positive things about his whereabouts and his health on game 2, so it was good to know that he was alert and feeling comfortable. As for Sean Henry, not given a game suspension for the hit on Friday, and he played in the game on Saturday. They actually revoked his total assessment. He was giving a 5-minute major, which the Ice Wolves killed off, which could have been way worse maybe had this unfolded. Again, 4-0 on Friday, 4-0 on Saturday.
Wow.
So shut out both night for the Ice Wolves.
Sean was not able to play for the rest of the game because he'd been given a game misconduct.
So he was total 25 penalty minutes.
And one of our most offensive defensemen. So I mean, here you have a call. It's nice that they, you go back online today and you look and you see that there's no mention of a game misconduct. They took all of that out after reviewing it, but the damage was done. I mean, you talk about a backbreaker for a team that, when you have one of your best defensemen out for the rest of the game. If you go online now, if you go to nmicewolves.com and you look at the stats for that Friday night game, the 28th of February, you'll see at 17:57 of the second period, just a host of penalties handed out. So you knew that there was something that was really ugly that happened, but what I saw when I was looking at it on Friday night was just the game misconduct, and I'm thinking, okay, then he's going to be out on Saturday night. Glad to hear that he was back, on Saturday night, but that's the kind of officiating that I know that it's a developmental league, but that's the kind of officiating that I think is really questionable in terms of effect on a game and what it can do. And so I really hope that the NHL is. I'm going to go back to what you were talking about at the very beginning of the season. Of getting a second ref, out there. That's something I think that could really help those kinds of situations and really help improve the officiating when you have another set of eyes and you've got another person who's there that you can consult with and come up with some as accurate a call as possible. That's a real tough one. It sounds like we had some bad juju on Friday night, and then Saturday night you're telling me that Rudrud actually did score a goal, but it never counted.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, and going back to the Sean Henry thing, watching it real time, even my eyes, I was saying it was clean, and I thought it was clean, but there always could be that little thing that you might miss until you see it slow down, which you have the capability to do. Luckily on Hockey TV, you can slow it down to 0.25 times the speed that it's normally at, so you have that capability to see, watching it unfold in front of your eyes instead of in the blink of an eye. In terms of what happened on Saturday, again, unfortunately the Ice Wolves were shut out both nights. They now have one registered goal in their last 2 weekends, and that came off the tip-in from Alex Dominique when they were swept against Topeka the last time they were home 2 weeks ago. And that was off a Sean Henry shot from the top of the left point. So getting back to the Rudrud goal or non-goal, if you want to say, and again, this happens in real time. Unfortunately, we're not the NHL, we're the NAHL, so there's no sending anything to Toronto, and even in the NHL, they're trying to get away from limiting their time in terms of reviewing processes and whatnot, because
It really does slow down the game.
and it does, and it's the fastest game on earth as well. But they're doing everything they can to keep fans engaged in it, watching it and whatnot. But however, if a team challenges the call on the wrong, they're giving a 2-minute penalty on the play, and we've seen that a few times here and there throughout the season. So it's so important for the team in terms of their off-ice personnel to make sure that they are throwing their challenge review correctly, because they don't want to be sending somebody into the box for no reason, and most often than not it's used for an offside challenge and whatnot. But getting back to Rudrud's questionable incident on Saturday, so Becker came in, he passed it to Makash. This was the third period. It was a 4-0 game, and it still would have resulted in a loss. The Ice Wolves, they
Right.
But it would have been more about the pride and not being shut out both nights, and helping out their stats as well, giving them the goal and whatnot.
Give them the confidence that they could score against Caden Bailey, one of the best goalies in the NAHL.
Absolutely, and it would have ended his chance at an 11th shutout this season. Not saying that, again, he's a fantastic goaltender. Not saying that he won't get any more, but it would have held him at 10 after that game on Saturday. Again, Ludwig Persson played on Friday, but Makash passed it over to Rudrud, who was on the left circle in the Brahma zone again in the third period, and he took basically kneeled down to take a one-timer shot, or a slap shot if you want to call it, and it went so quick in and out of the back of the net that even from my perspective, I called it a goal, but watching the play unfold in front of me, I kind of took it back. And even, again, looking back at it, it was in and out within maybe a split second. And judging on where the only referee is that can call it a goal, depending on where his eyesight was at, maybe it was blocked, but it never hit post. The play never stopped. Rudrud never celebrated. The light never lit. And the referee never signaled it was a goal. So it will go down.
So here you are calling a game, and you see the puck go in and out. You make the call, but nobody backs you up. Nobody,
And it's kind of one of the funky. I've never, never seen that happen all season, and really that much in hockey in general, where you'll see it more often hit just below the crossbar. It will hit that back of the bar where that top wraps around at, and will shoot off of that back and then right back out. And that and people will hear or will hear something hit and think it hits the crossbar or whatnot, and it shoots right back out. This, however, went in the bottom portion of the net where that thicker padding is at the bottom, and came right back out. So it never. And I think just the trajectory of the situation of where the puck sprung back out into play. Again, Caden Bailey never stopped. Rudrud, never really stopped to celebrate, and the Ice Wolves in play kept going on, and there was no whistle, there was no talk later about the situation, and again, if there was a replay system in place, I know we play it here at the Super Screens. We have a great production facility here. I know other teams in the league as well use replays, and they'll kind of go back and show it through Hockey TV. But most often than not, the refs don't get a chance to see that, or the ref and the linesman don't get a chance to see that. I know over the course of the last few home games for the Ice Wolves, they've been utilizing, trying to put the replays up on the Super Screen for all the fans more so to see, but also the players and coaching staff to see what just happened.
The breaks of the game.
But had there maybe been an instant replay in place, or say if they could have went somewhere like a Toronto to send it to, or something or another, I think you would have seen it be 4-1 on Saturday. Again, we can't go back in time and fix it, unfortunately, Rudrud and Becker and McCosh won't get the points for it, and again, that's just an unfortunate lock.
Right.
It still would not have changed the outcome of the game.
No.
It would have been 4-1 in favor of Lone Star, and the Ice Wolves still would have lost both games. However, those guys, obviously every point matters to them, not just in the standings, but also personal stats
Sure.
matter to these guys.
Yeah, and Rudrud's got 21 points. He's got 10 goals, 11 assists. It would have been nice to have 11 goals and 11 assists, I mean, but again, as some philosopher once said, no shoulda, woulda, couldas in your life. And so, yeah, it would have been nice, but ain't happening.
Well, they have to use that as motivation going forward for this weekend. They have to use that as some fire underneath them and say, hey, they might have been robbed that one goal over the course of the weekend, but that one goal still, like we were saying earlier, would not have been the difference maker. They need to get more shots towards the net, and they ran into the best defensive team in the league. Going into this past weekend, the Brahmas allowed 1,118 shots over the course of their season, which is the fewest amount of shots that have reached their goaltenders out of any team in the league.
That's amazing.
And they only allowed 10 on Friday. Again, there was maybe one or two that should have counted. They didn't. Actually, the Ice Wolves finished with 10 shots on Friday. They had 17 on Saturday. But the 10 on Friday, Dan, that they only had one in the second period, which goes down as their lowest shooting productivity period this season.
Yeah, and when I saw that online on the stats, I was just shocked because we have been even in our most difficult games, we've been able to get shots on goal, and so when I saw only one shot, I thought, gee, is that a mistake? And so I'm sure that Phil Fox is going to do what every good coach does and turn the last game and the last two games especially into a learning experience. And I'm sure that the production or lack thereof has informed him and associate head coach Keenan Kelly in the practice today, and I'm sure that they will be working on shot production as this week goes on, as we get up to the Friday game against Corpus.
While the Ice Wolves have an overall record of 12-33, 2-3, they have 29 points in their inaugural season. They're still 11 ahead of the Odessa Jackalopes, who are on a 7-game losing streak. The Ice Wolves themselves are on a 4-game losing streak, and again, they'll play this weekend the Corpus Christi Ice Rays, who didn't play this past weekend, so the Ice Wolves only have one game in hand now on Corpus. However, the Ice Rays are on a 3-game losing streak, and they are 2-7-0-1 in their last 10 games. I actually was looking back at the Lone Stars record and their previous handful of games or so, and obviously when they entered this past weekend, they were 9-1 in their last 10 games, Dan. However, they were 18-2 in their last 20. So Lone Star, very, again, dominant team. We said this last week on the podcast. If you earn an X next to your name, don't take them for granted. They got there because of the talent that they have on that roster, and they're going to be losing a good amount of their talent in regards to speaking about Lone Star. 13 players, both. Right. Two of which will be their goaltenders. So Caden Bailey, Ludwig Persson, the top two goaltenders in the league, will be gone. So the South Division and this league in general is going to look a lot different next year. You're going to see the Ice Wolves have a lot more confidence, have a lot more experience as well. And we're bringing in all these tenders left and right, recent signings. We have some more to come as well in the near future. And we've already used 4, so we're going to see those players. We're already seeing Maldonado and Green over the course of this weekend. Green will be with the team for the rest of the way. We've seen Dylan Bentley as well, an Ice Wolves tender signing. So those guys will have the opportunity to play with the team next year. And Who knows what's in store for them and the future tender signings and draft picks for the Ice Wolves during this offseason.
Well, if you want to keep up on the news of the Ice Wolves and these tenders, all you got to do is download the app and or just visit the nmicewolves.com, and I've got the app on my phone. So when there was a news release that went out yesterday that talked about a new tender by the name of Jimmy Jursev, who's from Illinois. This young man will be part of this organization, and that's a way you can find out about it. So go to nmicewolves.com, follow this team on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and download the app on your phone. It's a wonderful way to keep in touch with this team.
It's compatible with both Apple and Android, so no excuse as to why you shouldn't have the app already. Again, like Dan was saying, it's a great way to keep up to date on your favorite junior hockey team in a non-traditional market. And as we're getting closer towards the tail end of the season, the Ice Wolves have 10 games remaining. Dan, I know this isn't the record that obviously they were hoping for, and they still have time to obviously pick up wins amongst their next 10 games. And in those next 10 games, they're going up against 3 of their next 5 weekends will be against non-playoff teams, 2 against the Corpus Christi Ice Rays, who I said this on air over the weekend. There's 8 points still to be had between Ice Rays and the Ice Wolves because there's 4 games left between those two teams this season. The Ice Wolves are 8 games back, or not, 8 points back. They're 4 games back of the Corpus Christi Ice Rays. If the Ice Wolves are able to win those 4 games, the 4 remaining ones against them in Corpus, they will be able to at least tie with them, and on top of that, they'll gain that 5th place spot because they'll have the season series edge in their favor, and then they'll just have to make sure that they can pick up some points against Shreveport, Odessa, and Topeka along the way, and they'll be sitting pretty in 5th place and ending their inaugural season with some confidence going into year 2.
And it's possible. It's very possible, and I'm sure that Phil Fox and Keenan Kelly are doing everything they can on the practice ice here at the Outpost Ice Arena in Albuquerque with these boys to get them thinking about finishing strong. And even though they're not in the playoff picture, they certainly could finish in 5th place because this division is one of the toughest divisions in the NAHL, and to finish an inaugural season in 5th place in the South Division is nothing to shake a stick at.
The Ice Wolves, again, have 101 goals for this season, 182 goals against. And on top of that, they're on the 4-game losing streak that they're on. 1 registered goal in their last 4 games, which came off the blade of Alex Dominique, who had an incredible hand-eye coordination tip-in the last time the Ice Wolves were on home ice against the Topeka Pilots. They lost 3-0 that Friday night, 5-1 on Saturday, and then shut out both nights this past weekend. 4-0 on Friday, and then 4-0 on Saturday. So what's it going to take this weekend, Dan, for the Ice Wolves to get on the score sheet and really pile on the goals? Because I feel like they are destined for a big weekend here on home ice.
Well, I think I just have to quote a friend of mine who we were at a meeting the other week, and he saw my Ice Wolves sweatshirt, and he said, is that really good hockey? And I said, come on up and see it. Well, we both we discovered that we were both LA Kings fans, and so he came last Saturday night, a week ago Saturday night, and he was wearing his number 33 Marty McSorley sweater from the Kings, and he really liked what he saw. In fact, he even mentioned Alex Dominique, Griffin Sanum, and Alex Gomez. He thought those 3 players were his players to watch. So we've got to see some production from our players who are really intent on lighting up that red light and scoring and making the shots and doing everything they can. We've seen as you saw, that hand-eye coordination tip-in that Alex Dominique had was just astonishing. Not to put down, anything that shorthanded goals that we've seen from Tristan Rand and Jackson Willie, I think, got a shorthanded goal a couple weeks ago. So I'm thinking this team has got that spark. They've just got to find it, and I'm sure that that's what they're working on the ice this week.
They have an overall home record of 7-15-1-1, but remember, Dan, they played 4 games at the Schwann Super Rink in Blaine, Minnesota for the showcase all the way back in September. And for 2 of those games, they were home. The other 2, they were away. So really, it's 28 home games, true home games here at the Outpost Ice Arenas, with the final 6 coming here straight up in the month of March for the Ice Wolves. Again, 3 straight home weekends, and then the Ice Wolves will finish on the road for 2 straight weeks to end their inaugural season. So the Ice Wolves, while in Albuquerque, New Mexico, have a record of 7-13-1-1. So they've picked up points in realistically with the 1-1 extending past regulation time. They're realistically 9 and 13. They picked up points in 9 of their games here, and which is just an outstanding presence that they have here on home ice. While on the road, they are 5-18-1-2. Again, 2 of those games being played at the Schwann Super Rink as the away team. I think personally, the hometown crowd gives the Ice Wolves that extra edge that they are looking for, and I think that this weekend, with the first time the Ice Rays coming here, I'm pretty sure they'll probably be leaving tomorrow or so, because it's a lengthy trip from here to Corpus and vice versa. I think you're going to see a big Friday game for the Ice Wolves. I think, and there's been a few close games, games going into shootout between Corpus and New Mexico. Actually, the most recent meeting, both nights went into a shootout, 6-rounder on the first one, and then it was I believe it was Griffin Sanum and Brandon Holt that ended it on Saturday, and they didn't even need to go past the 3rd round. The Ice Rays unable to score in the shootout. So there's been some tight games, but I think Friday's going to be a really big one for the Ice Wolves. They're going to want to come out very hot. They want to set the tone early and not let their foot off the gas. And then I think on Saturday you might see Corpus try to pull back a little bit in terms of the reins. They want to maybe try to split the weekend, still stay ahead a decent amount of the Ice Wolves in the standings, but I still think New Mexico will gain the edge. They'll use that confidence from a big win on Friday to get a weekend sweep.
I think that's a perfect scenario. I think that these kids are hungry. I think that they want to finish completely in 5th place without any tie or anything. I think they're going to be hungry on the ice this weekend. Get your tickets at tickets.nmicewolves.com. That's tickets.nmicewolves.com. And show up for this game. We've got 2 games this weekend and the 2 following weekends. So 6 home games over the next 3 weekends. Get your tickets. Come on out and support the newest NAHL team on ice.
Well, there was another, actually 2 teams that have etched their name into a Robertson Cup playoff berth, and that is the Aberdeen Wings, who were able to clinch over the course of the weekend or so, and then the Johnstown Tomahawks actually just yesterday. They're playing a Monday-Tuesday game against the Maine Nordiques, which I find very interesting. You don't see Monday-Tuesday games too often here in the NAHL. It's mainly Friday-Saturdays with maybe some Midwest or Central teams playing, on a Wednesday or a Thursday. But so Central, the only team to have clinched right now are the Wings, currently the defending champions of the Robertson Cup, as they beat the Fairbanks Ice Dogs last year 2-1. East Division has 2 teams clinched: New Jersey Titans, the Johnstown Tomahawks, and that division has to be insanely tight right now because not even Northeast is eliminated from playoff contention, because in the Central you got St. Cloud Blizzard with 25. They're over 25 points behind 5th place, so they're well out of contention. out of the Midwest Division, there's Springfield has a chance to maybe squeak up with their remaining schedule or so into a fourth place spot, but that's as high as they can go. And then again, the South Division, the only one to have all four teams already clinched, and there's still more points to be gained. Fourth place has 66. That's the Shreveport Mudbugs. They are 2 points behind the Pilots in third. The Bulls and the Brahmas are tied with 83, although the Brahmas have the edge in those standings, and Corpus is in fifth place with 37. So you can notice how different each division is, not just playing style, but also standing wise. And the Northeast Generals have recently been doing fairly well. I know they're 3-7 in their last 10, as are the Maine Nordiques, who are the other brand new team into the NAHL this season. But Northeast, separating them from a playoff spot, it's 7 points, and Northeast, along with Johnstown, have the fewest games played. They still have 12 games remaining, so there's still 24 points on the line for Northeast. Still a lot of hockey to be played. I don't think anybody's going to be clinching out of that East Division anytime soon. Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights sitting third place with 53 points, so they have a little bit of a lead amongst the bottom teams. They might be safe if they are able to pick up a weekend sweep or two in the near future. But it just goes to show you how physical and how demanding this South Division is, because if you don't get out to a good start early, you can easily find yourself falling behind, and it's hard to play catch-up in this league.
Well, we certainly will find out what happens this weekend and what kind of points we can put on the board. You had a wonderful scenario of getting 2 wins. A sweep would be against Corpus this weekend would be just wonderful. So I'll certainly be here with you on the TV broadcast. And I'm looking forward to, again, exciting hockey here in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And we should be seeing Henrik Larsson. It was an optional escape for the team yesterday, so not everybody showed up, and a lot of guys recovering from the weekend, making sure that they're 100% going into this coming weekend and beyond to close out the inaugural season for New Mexico Ice Wolves hockey. Henrik Larsson, obviously, in the game Saturday in the third period, was unfortunately banged up, ended up remaining in and finishing out the game. That was his 6th straight start down. I was talking to him earlier. He was just taking it easy again today, making sure that he's, he doesn't want to go in re-aggravate an injury. He doesn't want to, risk his future playing career, which he's got a long playing career ahead of him after what he showcased this past weekend against the Lone Star Brahmas. Henrik Larsson, absolutely insane. And he's a Division I commit in the future. Again, the only commit on the Ice Wolves roster right now is Cole Hansen, as he was picked up from the Minot Minotauros at the trade deadline. He's got 40 games played already in his first ever season in the NAHL, but he's an Air Force commit from Grand Forks, North Dakota. Same hometown as number 5 for your Ice Wolves, Brandon Holt.
Well, Henrik Larsson is a rookie goalie in the NHL, and he has one more year of eligibility in this league for next year. So we need to make sure that he's in good health and stays that way.
Well, hopefully I'm sure we're going to see him this weekend. In the extent of him playing both games and making it 8 straight for him, I'm not quite sure. We'll just have to wait and find out. And get your tickets in advance at tickets.nyswolves.com. You can not only just purchase them for this weekend, but as well as the other, 2 home weekends that the Ice Wolves have in store after this weekend wraps up. Again, 7:30 games puck drop on Friday, 7 o'clock puck drop on Saturday. Doors open an hour before puck drop is scheduled. So, and we play games here at the Outpost Ice Arenas off of Tramway. So if you're tuning in for the first time, thank you so much. Maybe hit that subscribe button and give Dan and I any feedback at all on the podcast. I know this is episode number 14. Unfortunately, unable to have a special guest with us here for this podcast. We'll look to get another one next weekend following this coming weekend against the Corpus Christi Ice Rays, as it will be Corpus's first time to the chilly capital of the world.
Well, it's going to be an exciting thing, and be sure to come in. We record this podcast in Chili's Pro Shop, and there's just a whole lot of wonderful merchandise in here. They're getting new stuff in all the time. Drop in, pick up a T-shirt, a hoodie, a jacket. I'm getting a pair of sweatpants today with the logo on it. It's one of the best logos in hockey, and so come on and visit the pro shop. Now, if you're at the game and it's crowded, this pro shop is open from 1 until 8 every weekday, so you can come up to the ice arena and visit the pro shop when they're not crowded.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's when we find the time to do it, because it's easy as here. We're surrounded by some of the best merchandise in the entire league, and on top of that, they got figure skating stuff. They have Howie's hockey tape. They even have some UNM Lobos merchandise as well. I know their season has just wrapped up as well for college hockey, but the Ice Wolves season has not. Still 6 home games left in their inaugural season, and you're not going to miss one of them. We've sold out every game of 2020, Dan, and we're looking to keep it going here this weekend against the Ice Rays.
Well, I'm going to be going down to Alyssa's office here shortly, and I'm going to pick up a ticket of a high top table outside the glass in the lobby, but I'm going to get a table for my son and his wife and a friend of theirs for the March 13th game, so against Shreveport. So I think that's I think that's something that you ought to be doing, is getting some tickets online.
Yeah, they're super affordable too, and I mean, we have bleacher seats for $12.50. Chairbacks are only $25, and on top of that, I've been seeing more and more of people getting these on ice tickets, which I think are absolutely phenomenal. They're so unique to hockey. I've been to hundreds of hockey games, so many different arenas, and I've never seen anything quite like the Outpost Ice Arenas, with the cool loop they have going on, the availability to watch a Tier 2 junior hockey game, support your Ice Wolves in the corner, be as close as you can to the action, and then, hey, when the period's over and, if you have so much energy balled up, or if your kid has tons of energy balled up, the South Rink, the other sheet of ice, is open to skate on during the game.
Right.
That means the tunnels are open, and tons of people go over there. Kids are playing tag. People are practicing their skating abilities over there. I often walk over and just glance to see how many people are over there, and then once the period starts back up, they're back over in the corners watching the game. It makes for a great atmosphere, and on top of that, it just looks phenomenal from my perspective, from the broadcast booth, from from just a person that loves the game so much. I think it's just that extra little sprinkle on top here at the Outpost.
And there's a new added attraction up here called bubble hockey. I had, only seen it in pictures, but come on up and you can play during the intermissions. They got a couple of bubble hockey games here, and all I can tell you is not only is it good, but it's scary good.
Yeah,
That's an inside joke.
It's and you'll probably find that out once you get close by, because it's motion sensor. It's got this
announcer
that
says these guys are good, scary good.
And they are scary good. They have the logo, the Ice Wolves logo on them. They resemble the players. Obviously, there's no names or numbers on them, but the goaltenders' pads very similar to some Ice Wolves goalies as well, Josh Graziano and Henrik Larsson. So take a look at that if you can, if you haven't already. And again, make sure you stop by the grill as well. They have a game day menu, so it's specific to Ice Wolves home games, which is definitely different than their typical menu that they would have throughout the course of an evening during a weeknight or whatnot. But make sure.
So you better be getting those mini corn dogs on Friday night.
We got to start the tradition back up again, Dan.
Because that was a good luck charm for you. So you be sure to get those mini corn dogs.
I will, and they even have churros here too. I grew up eating churros, and I obviously I know how big and popular the culture is around Old Town and New Mexico and whatnot, and I've been now getting more accustomed to the chili here, and I could go either way with red or green. I have no preference, but I was just glad to see that the grill here has churros. I've spent a large portion of my my time ordering churros prior to games, after games, whatnot, and they have a wide array of options too. It's not. I've been to some arenas where they just had burgers, pretzels, popcorn, and some fountain drinks, and that's about it. But here, I mean, top to bottom,
it's a wide array. It's a big
great
long
list
menu
of options, and that's the hardest part. Is sometimes I go up before the game, I never know what I want because you never know what you're in the mood for, and they always have something that is great quality food, and on top of that, they hardly run out of anything, unless I think they had the cotton candy one night sell out big time because we were doing a promotional with it. So that was the only thing that I can remember in which they actually ran out of that. But because people were buying them just for the promotion. So again, make sure you check out the grill. Make sure you stop by the Chili's Pro Shop. It's on the back end of where the doors are open, so all the way in the back. We have jerseys, sublimated jerseys and replica jerseys here, and not just for merchandise stand as well, but we also have equipment from shells to chest protectors to hockey sticks. Everything that you can think of has been put into this pro shop. The detail is insane, not just in the merchandise, but in the quality of the equipment here as well.
And figure skating.
Yeah.
Lots of figure skating stuff here, too.
Huge rack for figure skating, and a lot of skates on display all the way from left to right, and as soon as you walk in, and it's just a great atmosphere. We're selling pucks here. We got stickers and magnets. We have coffee mugs. So there's a lot more than just Ice Wolves merchandise. Please make sure to check it out. Blade shades are here too. Tons of options, and honestly, you could probably make an entire month's wardrobe out of everything in here. I mean, I feel like I have so much Ice Wolves merchandise, I don't even wear any other clothes beyond that. So
it's true.
Dan, two big games this weekend for the Ice Wolves against the Ice Rays. It's going to be games number 5 and 6 between Corpus and New Mexico this season. The season series will conclude on the final 2 home games of the Ice Wolves' inaugural season on March 20th and the 21st. Unfortunately, the Ice Wolves won't end their inaugural season on home ice. They will actually end it in Topeka, where it will be the final 2 regular season games in Topeka for the Pilots, as they just announced this past weekend that they will be relocating to Kansas City, Missouri, and I do believe that they will be moving out of the South Division and into the Midwest. I haven't seen that 100% confirmed yet, but that has just been kind of the talks amongst the league and whatnot, in terms of, again, with Wichita Falls coming in, that would put the South at 8 teams, and now you're relocating Topeka even more so kind of, I guess, northeast-ish to Missouri, and they're a little bit closer to some other teams than the South. So it would make more sense for them to go over to another division. But
so we got to remember that the Topeka franchise started in Santa Fe, New Mexico, as the Santa Fe Roadrunners, moved to Topeka in 2008, I believe, and still remained the Roadrunners until 2 years ago, when they became the Pilots. And so I was thinking about this. So they're going to be moving to the Kansas City area, and I'm remembering that before the New Jersey Devils became the New Jersey Devils, they started out as the California Seals, moved to become the Kansas City Scouts, then to the Cleveland Barons, and then to the New Jersey Devils. So that was the history of that franchise, if I'm remembering correctly. So you just gotta connect all the dots, with all these franchise moves. But yeah, it's going to be it's going to be interesting having the last game of playing in Topeka for this season for the Ice Wolves before that team moves.
Yeah, they will have playoff games as well. Obviously, will they be home to start out? We're not quite sure. Right now, they sit at 68 points. Amarillo and Brahma is tied at 83 for first and second. So, again, how the playoff format works: top 4 teams from each division make it in. First and second get the home advantage, as the first and second rounds are best of 5. So 3 out of the 5 games will be played on first and second's home ice. So it would be a lot of catching up for the Topeka Pilots if they want to have that home ice advantage. If not, they'll just have to wait and see if they're going to play the Brahmas or the Bulls. However, they are guaranteed playoff action on home ice, so it most likely won't be the final game for Topeka in their arena, as again, they'll have 2 more games at least in postseason action. And, it's going to maybe be surreal for some of the fans as, they're losing their beloved hockey team. And we'll have to see, how the attendance is for that night. We wish nothing but the best, especially myself. You always hate to see teams relocate, but it's not the players' faults. And they certainly had no, say in the matter at all. And we wish them nothing but success going forward. If they are out of their division, those could also be the final 2 games the Ice Wolves play against the Pilots.
So before we wrap this up, I just want to throw a plug in for the NHL on NBC this Sunday. It's International Women's Day, and the NHL is going to, NBC is going to have an all-female broadcast on-air talent group. So there's going to be 2 analysts and a female play-by-play person, and then between periods they'll have a female analyst and who's in the Women's Professional Hockey League, and Catherine Tappan, who often does the intermission, sort of host of the intermission. She will be part of that. So it's all about this whole program that hockey's for everybody. So if you've noticed on our broadcast, I've interviewed 2 women just recently who play hockey here, and one of them's a hockey coach. Another one is trains the like Hockey 101 class here. So there's always room in hockey for women. There's always room in hockey for people who are physically challenged. So that's why we have sled hockey here. Hockey is for everyone.
Yeah, the Blade Runners, we've had them out to games as well. We've had guys practice with them. We even had an exhibition game between Ice Wolves and Blade Runners, which went over fantastically well. A lot of the guys could not keep their balance on the sleds, so obviously those that play sled hockey got a chuckle out of that. Seeing these big,
right.
Brant Pedersen or Alex Gomez try to fit in these tiny little sleds and balance on top of it. It made for a good night. We just want to obviously say thank you to everybody who listens on this podcast. Thank you for tuning in to episode number 14 of Inside the Pack, as Dan and I break down what is basically happening inside the Ice Wolves team and in terms of their games as well, and breaking that down over the course of this past weekend and what's to come for them in the near future. Just a few days out from their first of 3 straight weekends here at the Outpost Ice Arena, as they'll host the Corpus Christi Ice Rays this Friday 7:30, Saturday 7 o'clock. Make sure you get your tickets in advance at tickets.nmicewolves.com. And while you're there, also check out some of the other final home games for the Ice Wolves, too. If you have the availability on Friday, Saturday nights for the next 3 weekends, we'd love to see you out. Make sure we can pack the house here for a good send-off for the Ice Wolves. And I'm sure we're going to be looking to sell out all 28 home games next year in year 2, Dan.
Absolutely. It's been a great inaugural season. It's been fun to work with you. I've been having a great time. Let's make this last homestand a memorable one. Let's see you out here at the Outpost Ice Arena up here on Tramway Boulevard here in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Well, for Dan Webster, myself, thanks so much again for tuning in to episode number 14 of Inside the Pack. And we'll see you this weekend, hopefully, at the Outpost Ice Arenas. If not, we'll see you right back here next week on Inside the Pack.